Hi guys, and welcome to yet another episode of Office Hours at iZooto. Today we have with us two founders and two CEOs. We have with us Satej Sarur from Rocketium. Hi Satej.
Hello.
And we have with us Mathew John from Typito.
Hey.
Hey Mathew. Hey. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. Really appreciate it. I've known both these gentlemen for a while. Satej for a couple of years now, right, and Mathew for a couple of months. But what is sort of common between both of these gentlemen is the fact that they've been working knowingly or unknowingly. I think a lot more unknowingly on building something that is literally challenging one of the behemoths in the creative industry, that is Adobe. And that is exactly what is the topic of today's conversation, right? The unbundling of the great legendary Adobe Creative Suite, right? So before we sort of dive into the conversation, it'll be great if you can quickly introduce yourself, Satej.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me, Vivek. I think this is a very interesting format. A little bit about Rocketium. So like Vivek said, I'm the CEO of Rocketium. Rocketium is an enterprise creative automation platform. Now, those are all very heavy words, but what each of those means I can get into later. But the overall idea is that when making creatives, so an image or a video, there is a lot of repetitive rote work that is involved for most people, right? Not all of it is very creative. So what Rocketium does is it helps enterprises automate a large part of that. First, by having a designer templatize something the way you would in an email or a web page, right? Make a template, and then allowing either automation, so purely backend code, or internal teams who are not necessarily designers, for them to be able to use those templates and then make hundreds, thousands more creatives using that template, right? So that's in a nutshell what we do. And why we say platform is because our biggest goal is to help other companies build on top of what we are doing, right? Rather than we having a few products, we want to open up parts of our platform so that others can build on it. And that's what we do as a company.
Perfect. Mathew.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for having me here, Vivek. Definitely looks like a pretty interesting format. So talking about Typito is a video creation tool primarily used by marketers and small marketing agencies to create professional looking videos. And so why do they use it? Because most of these people are not well versed with, let's say, complex video editing tools like the Adobe suite. In fact, our topic for the day is also something concerning Adobe, but it's about helping people without video editing chops, or who wouldn't want to invest another 6 months to build the learning curve to understand a video editor. How can they create something compelling? How can they create really beautiful video stories online? That's what we kind of try to help people with. We focus specifically on very small businesses right now, and also some digital media houses. And that's been our story. So we try to, our customers and us, we also try to relate our product a lot more with something what Canva has done to poster design. Like, hey, anyone should be able to go ahead and create a poster without having to know how to use an Illustrator or a Adobe Photoshop. And so that's been our journey last 3 years. The product has been there in the market. I've served around 125,000 marketers and small agencies, etc. Trying to see where in the journey ahead.
Right. Awesome. Thanks for that, Mathew, Satej. Really insightful to sort of know what you guys are doing right now. So now, personally speaking, as a marketer who sort of tried creating banners and posters, and at times videos, and at times creatives for our display ads, right? I know for a fact that I was massively challenged about 4 or 5 years back when we started iZooto. Right? I had to go to a designer compulsorily, or either call a designer, a friend. If there was no designer in the marketing team, I would be practically helpless, right? And but fast forward to 2020, suddenly in this in these 4 years, right, video production, creative automation, simplifying creatives, simplifying design tools has sort of become a a unique category of its own now, right? I'm sure, while it might not be like a Gartner category, but I'm sure that it's a G2 category for sure. Soon it'll also sort of find its place in the Gartner, the, the legendary Gartner quadrant as well. So I'll sort of start with Satej, you first, right? What sort of triggered the concept of Rocketium, right? What was your inspiring moment to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to build this thing?
Yeah, so Rocketium, the company itself, the genesis of that was two things. One was an idea that I had in my head since 2005, and which is, if I tell you the idea, it has nothing to do with what we do today, but the core of it, the kernel of it is still there, which is people's attention spans are very short. They want engaging content, but it has to be really short form, right? So that was really the core intent of starting Rocketium. So that was the idea part, and the timing part was I used to be head of product and strategy at Taxi for Sure, which was a cab aggregator in the same space as Ola and Uber. After it got acquired, I had the option of joining Ola or to leave and then do something else, right? And I wanted to start up, so I started Rocketium. But the first year and a half or so of Rocketium is a very different company. So, we'll just not talk about that. But the other idea and everything after that, I was just talking to my co-founder the other day, right, as to how we really operate, right? And it's a combination of, again, sounds kind of lofty when I say it, but it's actually true, and I'll explain, right? It's a combination of innovation and serendipity, where a lot of ideas we have upfront, right? We would, have all these like pie in the sky kind of ideas that, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. And, oh, here is this, 10-year roadmap and all of those things. But then nobody really gives a shit. When we go to market, talk to people, nobody wants it at T equal to 0. But serendipity is T plus 1 year, T plus 2 years. People come to us with those requirements. So we would have done the innovation or at least thought about it. And then serendipitously, customers come to us when the time is right, when the market is really moved to that point, they come to us, and it's not like we are caught completely unawares, right? So a lot of what we do is really dictated by customers, but every one of those has been thought about, back in 2016, right? We had a big blueprint of all the things that we want to do. We said, why just Adobe? We'll compete with Shutterstock, we'll compete with, Upwork, and we had all of those plans. So no plans to do that now. Today we are more customer driven innovation we try to do. We try not to build for the future. We try to build for the big gaps that exist today.
Right. It sort of reminds me of a tweet that I read yesterday, right? It said, in 3 simple words, market is everything, right?
Absolutely.
That's a sort of, yeah.
When you haven't lived that and you see things like that, it's a little abstract. You don't get it.
Yeah,
but
true.
When you live it, it's just so powerful, and really every day you understand it. The same person who wouldn't even give you a time of day, and now they are knocking at your door saying, okay, when can we get started? When can we get this rolling?
Yeah, and I mean, you guys have sort of now literally witnessed it for the second time in your short journey of 5 years, right? It's been 5 years now for Rocketium?
That's right. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, incredible, right? In fact, also sort of reminds me of what Krish from ChargeBee used to say. It's so much about catching a lightning in a bottle, right? You always have the bottle, right? It's a matter of getting
survive long enough, then there is a chance you increase the chance of catching the lightning.
Of catching the lightning in the bottle, right? Which is extremely rare. But then once you have it, you sort of really want to keep that bottle with you, right? So yeah. Mathew, how has been your journey with Typeito? I know you guys are super lean. You guys have been you built it in a very scrappy yet impactful way. A lot of marketers, a lot of agencies love what you guys are doing at Typeito, right? What's been your journey like so far?
Yeah. So I think our journey is also sort of a reflection of my experience before Typeito. So I started off my career as a game developer at Walt Disney. Now, the best part about that is Walt Disney, maybe not the game developer. So Walt Disney is like one of those companies which kind of stands for storytelling, right? You get to work with a lot of artists, producers, creative directors who are really, really passionate about storytelling. And that kind of let you kind of aspire to a much, much higher level of storytelling. How do you, even communication is done much, much better there. Right? And fortunately, while I was in Walt Disney, I also got an opportunity to start we started a small production agency called Wild Bee. So we were, few of our friends, we did this while we just got out of college. We wanted to do something creative. And what we ended up doing is pretty interesting, which is creating these animated explainer videos uh, for brands like Ola, InMobi, Deloitte, etc. And again, this required some sort of storyboarding, working with animation artists, because none of us knew how to use any of these complex Adobe tools. But what it really helped us understand is that video is definitely a very, very powerful medium when it comes to kind of creating it and publishing it and getting the reach to the audience. And more importantly, it's also a process. It's not the viral videos which you see out there. There is, most of them definitely have a storyboard or a script. There is a ideation stage for most of them. So all these, it's like this, right? Experiences kind of keep accumulating, and then somewhere you try to make sense out of it, during some point in life. And for me, it was more like, after seeing this and after looking at how video is being consumed on, on social media platforms like Facebook and even YouTube, Instagram, etc. It just kind of struck that there might be a lot of value in creating a platform or a tool. I would rather call it a tool, in fact, tool where people can actually create videos with certain basic building blocks, and from whatever my learning was, for me, text was one of those most important building blocks. How can you help people with text on videos? We're not talking about just, like, let's say, serif or sans serif, but we are talking about, hey, how can we give, let's say, Adobe After Effects quality text templates on top of video? So that's what we started off with. It was more of an evolution of a feature becoming a product, with some sort of a conviction about, hey, you know what, some audience should be there out in the world who might find this valuable. And then that's how the journey kind of kicked off.
Right, interesting. You know what? I'll sort of come back to those points there. So very interesting, anecdotes and pointers there. So, Satish, I'll come back to you. I remember, Rocketium in a different light, and then Rocketium today. It has sort of evolved from being a loved, DIY product, right, which was really smooth, straightforward, to now becoming literally an integral part of a marketeer stack, right? How has the transition been for you, right? And also the category you are now operating in, or sort of, is that like established category? Do you see a lot of, who do you get compared with most as well?
Yeah, so the latter part I'll answer first. It's that's always been a challenge for us, right? Because we've been fairly horizontal in what we've spoken about. First we didn't have a lot of those products, but we still had aspirations to launch those, right? So always we had that challenge. Who do we compare against, right? So earlier, at least, it was okay to say, oh, we are Canva for video, right? And now Canva also has video, so it was easier to compare us against that, right? But since 2018 end, as we have gotten more first into automation and then the platform bit and now enterprise, it becomes that much harder for us to compare us to somebody else, right? Which you would think is a good thing, that, hey, we have no competitors, but it just becomes that much harder to fight for Google traffic, fight for keywords for paid ads and whatnot, right? So today somewhere you could say it's kind of like a competitor to Adobe, but honestly not, right? Because Adobe is still solving the problem for individuals. They are not really solving a problem for teams. There are software like frame.io, which help purely in collaboration, but not in creation. There are software like a Celtra, which help in creation of creatives, but then mostly serving that in the ad world, right? Or a Smartly for that matter, right? So somewhere it's a series of intersecting circles, and we are somewhere in the middle of those, right?
Right.
But anyway, so in terms of how was this transition, again, like I said, those were things that we always wanted to do, right? But when almost so this was September, October of 2019, almost 30-40 companies came to us over that 2-month period and said, do you have an API? Do you have a white label solution? Can you create images? And so each one of those was a light bulb moment, saying that, oh, finally people want this. We always wanted to do it. And so that's kind of how we responded to that, right? And the reason to go after that was kind of part our conviction, part saying that, hey, somebody wants this, let's build it, right? And having customers on the DIY side where this Canva-like product, where there was very high churn, low ticket sizes, very poor engagement with customers. Customers wouldn't really get on calls, give us feature requests, right? So it was very dismal experience for us as product builders, right? On the other side, when these customers came, much higher ticket sizes, very, very low churn, and highly engaged, right? Because you are a core part of their product, right? Same way now, closer to end of 2019, when larger enterprises started coming to us, much larger design teams plus marketers, plus merchandisers. So all of them who are consumers of the designs made by designers, when they started coming to us, the engagement was at a very different level. And even compared to the platform piece, on this enterprise side, the ticket sizes were higher. And so it was very easy for us to take each of those. It was a true pivot, right? One leg is firmly grounded and the other one is moving, right? So it was very easy for us to take that step because you're not really stopping something. We're just adding something. It was a minor addition, and it just made the company so much better, right? So just to give you a quick stat, 100% of our revenue was from our do-it-yourself video creator back in 2018 end, right? Today that is 8%.
Yeah. That's an incredible transition. Yeah. That's an incredible transition.
Average revenue per account has gone up 25x. And churn churn I can't even compare, because it used to be a high, almost double-digit monthly churn we used to have. From that, it is now negative churn.
Right. It seems like you do have the lightning in the bottle.
Close. Not fully, but it feels like it. It's like it was.
Right. Awesome. So now, Mathew, help me understand, right? You almost make designers, like for lack of a better word, redundant, right?
Right.
How do they feel about you, honestly?
So can you repeat that again?
So you almost make design teams redundant.
Okay.
Right? You replace design teams, right? To a larger extent, right? You replace video production teams.
I got it.
You replace video production, that job role of a video producer, right? Or a video editor, right? How do they feel about you generally?
Understood. I think it's more of, let's say, enabling certain people who actually have the story to tell to kind of go ahead and create that video and tell the story out, instead of, let's say, adding a lot of overhead in the process. For example, so one of the media agencies, in fact, digital media houses which we work with, one of the digital journalists in India, Logical Indian. So one very interesting conversation we had recently was that, they are now able to kind of upgrade their journalist team to become full stack journalists. Now, what does full stack journalists mean? We have heard of full stack developers. So what I got to understand is that now they want journalists to be able to kind of have their independence to own that story from, let's say, inception or wherever they collected it till, let's say, the last mile tools, like buffer, scheduling on buffer, or putting it up on social media or measuring how it's working, etc. And of course, if the process to do that, if it's going to be really difficult, it definitely requires people of multiple expertise to kind of come in there. But maybe in some of these videos, it's not that difficult. You can do it. One person will be able to learn those skills really fast and do it. So, and I think video producers and designers always have a place. There is always really, really difficult videos to design, to create, to ideate. I'm sure the Ogilvies and the McCanns of the world will, exist, and they will do amazing TV commercials for the big customers. But it really resonates more with small businesses, I think, because they don't want to probably spend, let's say, $500 to $700 working with a video editor sometimes to create creative. They just want to do something. So it's like this, right? Things have changed a lot in the last 10 years, I would say. Smartphones have become really good. The live footages which you get are incredible now. There is stability inbuilt in most of them. And what I'm trying to say is, what the input itself is pretty amazing. You just need to put it together, tell your story. And maybe you don't need to work with a designer for that purpose. So that's what I'm understanding. It's all about jobs to be done. Some jobs, yes, they can do it. Some jobs, they'll have to give it out to some expert to actually do a much better job.
Yeah, true. I like that. I love that application of that very simple and powerful framework. Jobs to be done, right? The job needs to be done. Full stop. It doesn't matter if you're an Ogilvy or or a small agency,
Absolutely.
right? So you almost do the exact same thing, but in enterprises or larger setups, right? You have on one hand you would literally revolutionize their speed of execution, right? Which allows them to scale, which is for lack of a better word, you enable blitzkrieg for them, literally, right? The fact that they can go live with a million ads literally at a snap of a second, right? Uh, and 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 those tasks used to sort of take forever.
Correct.
It's not even
Or they
imaginable,
won't even do it because
or they would not even do it for the scare of it, like just for the overwhelming feeling around it, right? How are those designers who were sort of trying to do this day in day out, feeling about their existence right now in these systems?
Yeah, so for Rocketium, right, our process necessarily involves a designer. So our starting point is always a designer, because we are working with enterprises. They are very particular about their brands, which is why we haven't gone that Canva route of having hundreds of thousands of templates, right? So we've completely stopped that, right? So instead, what we have built is the ability to import from Adobe After Effects or Photoshop, right? Being able to directly import those files that the brand designers have made, and then put extra smart rules and automation and things like that on top of it, which the designers themselves can do. So the designers are actually very, very happy, because earlier their job was part creativity, which you could say is 5%, right? And 95% was purely rote execution, just data entry. That they would literally, in every e-commerce company, every large company, they have the same process, right? That here is a spreadsheet with 100 rows, 500 rows, and now you just go from each one, copy paste this one, paste it over here, do this, export from Photoshop, do the same one again, and then a slew of communication tools and so on. So designers actually really, really value what we are doing with them. They're very happy. We are a little extra sensitive when we talk to them. We are extra sensitive to make sure we don't position ourselves as trying to replace their job, because really that's not the goal of it, right? We help them do more, be more creative, and that's what a lot of marketers and business owners also value, that my design team is actually being more creative. We are coming up with more campaign ideas, and then people who are not designers or anybody, I just have a spreadsheet of 1,000 products, all 1,000 I'm creating creatives using my brand designs. That's really what we are doing.
Satish, I also recall that back in the day, the idea started from, can I automate a video ad, right? And from there, sort of, you've expanded the purview to say, so can I automate any creative?
Correct.
Right. I want to spend a minute on the video advertising landscape right now. How far do you think are you from the T is equal to T moment in that specific category or industry per se?
Yeah, so today the big gap in Rocketium is that we are purely into creative automation, right? So you are able to make a template, and then a marketer is going to come in and say that, hey, I want a 6-second Instagram ad. Let me see what my designer has created, right? They can come in, they can move around a few pieces, and the designer can control how much flexibility and control that the marketer would have, right? So what they are getting out of it is being able to decide what is my demographic, what is the experiment content that I want to write, all of those things, and then do whatever extra stuff they want within Rocketium, right? So what they get is the ability to experiment and being able to target different user segments. What they don't get, and what I feel is a big gap in Rocketium today, is after you make the creative, Rocketium's engagement with you is over, right? So you have to download it, because this is what some of our customers tell us, right? That I want to do it for all 500 cities. I want to do the creative, where I'm catering it, each of my creatives to each of those cities, and the top restaurant, top seller, top whatever else in each of those cities, right? But Facebook doesn't let me make 500 of those ad campaigns, set a budget for it, send the right creative for it, and then look at analytics for it, right? So if I had to think about what's next, where we get to that real magic moment for advertisers, and this is where again talking about our roadmap in 2016, right? We always envisaged a platform piece on top of which we would build an ad specific product, an advertising specific product. So this vertical product would take all the pieces that we have around creative automation and then build the output connectors, right? So being able to go to GDN, DV360, or Instagram, Facebook, wherever else, right? And close the loop, saying that these ads work, these ads didn't work, this is stuff you could try. And that's really where a lot more data can come in. I mean, it opens up a ton of opportunities, and real value can be created. Today, we just stop short of creating that tremendous value.
Got it. So you're saying a lot of value remains to be unlocked within the core product
Tremendous.
itself,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. As somebody who's sort of seen that part of ad tech, I can sort of vouch for that. This an incredible dire need for no matter whether you're a large B2B e-commerce company, or for the matter you're a large publisher, right? Managing and handling creative load at scale always has sort of remained a challenge, right? Now, Mathew, on the other side, you are on the exact opposite end, right? I have Satej who is speaking about scale, doing things at an incredible, insane scale. He's like, how do I prepare the team for a big billions day sale, right? And on the other hand, we're talking about SMBs who are focusing on, hey, you know what? How do I just get this job done right now, right? From your point of view, right, within this very specific category of video creation or DIY video creation, right? What's next? We have had Canva arrive in the video space, right? We've had you guys. There are a bunch of other people, all sort of, really going fast and sort of enabling, Joe marketers like me. What's sort of next, in this space, or which other component of Adobe Premiere or Adobe After Effects? In fact, I don't even recall the list of products that Adobe has in this suite, right? What's next, or what's sort of ripe for disruption right now?
Got it. In fact, talk about Adobe, the Adobe suite being unbundled. I think it kind of started with probably Apple getting into iMovie, right? I mean, and that's where they were like, hey, what, we're gonna have our own suite of products which are much better designed. And then of course we had the Sketch moment where Sketch came and told that, hey, web design can be made much easier. You don't need, let's say, something like an Illustrator or Photoshop for that matter. And Canva was also another inflection point, I would say, where, hey, there are so many people who can't use these products which are complex. Can we use something much more easier, like Satej rightly said, like a template driven model, right? Where you create, let's say, thousands of templates, and then maybe those templates just serve the purpose, when it comes to poster design. So
isn't that more confusing? Actually, I've sort of always had a struggle with Canva simply because of the number of options there. It's so overwhelming, right? Give me one template, give me like 3 templates. The paradox of choice is just Canva lives that literally.
I know. I think it's actually, you like you rightly pointed out, it's a paradox of choice. I think at some point you find it helpful, some point you find it overwhelming, but yeah, I think that's how they have definitely found their own, we can't call it a niche anymore, kind of millions of users who are finding value in kind of a template driven approach. So I think for me, video is definitely kind of ripe for disruption. Now, when I say video, I'm not talking about, I'm talking about video as a format, and everything comes under that, right? The kind of scalable, automated advertising, creative advertising, which Satej talks about, the kind of engagement which products like Loom are getting when it comes to screencast videos, to even edited videos for, let's say, your marketing promotion or, your customer testimonial videos. I think it's everyone is slowly moving towards video. I would say it'll take a couple of years for people to actually start having a content marketing team with a video marketer in that. Today, if you ask me, most content marketing teams out there or marketing teams out there, I don't think many of them have a video marketer. Even though we all celebrate video, we all talk about, Cisco's white paper, citation of by 2020, 78-80% of the internet traffic is going to be video. No, most companies don't use video. But I think that shift is happening. And when that shift happens, I think, yeah, like you said, the sort of unbundling of Creative Suite will definitely happen, because these are different jobs which have to be kind of again done. For example, there would be a market for template driven videos. There would be a market for, let's say, something which much more, a little more complex, which would require, let's say, a motion graphic designer to probably operate on. 2 things I primarily see is, one is like a browser driven evolution, right? I think today I think just like how iZooto or us, and in fact Rocketium, I'm guessing to a great extent would be browser driven. I think there will be more products coming out on the browser because browser has become like really powerful today, can do a lot of work. Second thing is, I think the work, the kind of quality of videos which, let's say, we offer to customers today, I would say all the products, across, let's say, SMBs, DIY, everything, I still feel they are poor quality, which we are offering them. They are just doing with it because they feel video is a very intimidating format. And whoever is able to kind of break that, whoever is able to kind of give amazing quality of videos to kind of create uh, with the ease which is required, I think they'll have a great future in this market is what I feel. But yeah, that's my 2 cents, or I don't know how many cents. Yeah.
Right. So now this is a question for both of you, right? What role is sort of COVID playing in catalyzing this moment for you in your respective categories? I know you both are sort of now operating at in different quadrants, literally, right? Satish focusing on a lot more mid-market and enterprise. Mathew, sticking on to and laser focus on SMB and the individual freelancer, the gig economy, so forth, right? Given the fact that we are in COVID, and we will literally have a before COVID marketing strategy, execution strategy, and a post-COVID, GTM and stuff, right? How are you guys sort of seeing the movement within your within your space so far? Satish, what's been your experience of in the past 40 days of lockdown, of engaging with your customers?
Yeah, so one thing is definitely a lot of companies, especially in e-commerce, were seeing a lot of interest in what we wanted to do, right? And what has now been added to that is large financial organizations, banks and insurance companies. A lot of them are now saying that, okay, how do we reach out to people digitally? Because people are, all the offline channels are not really working as much as possible. We can't, some of the low-hanging fruit around, let's say, events for B2B companies, things like that, right? So a lot of those don't exist. So how do we move more stuff digitally? Also, the collaboration that was easily happening in the office, you tap on somebody's shoulder, you ask them that, hey, do this for me, or just following up in person that, hey, where is my stuff? Like, is it ready? So a lot of that has really broken, right? Because people are over various communication channels. That's really slowing them down. So being able to take charge of the creatives, do it on my own, right? So we are kind of doing the DIY, but within enterprise, right? You are helping those people set up that infrastructure so that internal teams can use it rather than having to go to designers, which was anyway a big bottleneck, but now they're able to eliminate that, right? So we are seeing from a lot of companies, they want to do this. Plus we are also seeing from companies that can we take your white label solution and now give it to our customers, because their internal organization is facing those challenges. So how do we use that to create a new revenue stream or make things easier for our customers? So again, both in terms of moving to digital, as well as not having easy access to the team members, so wanting higher efficiency and productivity. Those are two big themes that we are seeing.
Interesting. I love that phrasing. DIY within enterprise. Right, it's a very beautiful, contrarian packaging. Right? I'm sure it'll sort of appeal to a lot of analysts as well. Right, Mathew, what's been your take? I know the gig economy has been turned upside down. I know SMBs are hit worst because of COVID, right? But then we also know for a fact that this is also becoming like an opportunity in crisis moment for a lot of SMBs as well, right? What's been your experience so far over here?
Yes. So what we have seen is, like you said, SMBs, a lot of SMBs have been hit by the COVID-19 pandemic, and a lot of them are requesting for, let's say, resuming the plan after a couple of months when probably things are much better. But interestingly, what we've also seen is there is very interesting change in behavior when it comes to certain verticals, right? For example, one is churches going online. Another is fitness, wellness, yoga, dance studios going online. They don't have another option. They are all kind of forced to adopt a new way of, let's say, conducting their business. And of course, education is also going online. So what we have seen is there is definitely an uptick in the number of videos created on Typito, like easily like 40% above, and on a monthly basis. And I think this is for us, the way we look at it is that so there is this very interesting point which Dr. Clayton Christensen brings up in his book about disruption. He talks about there is an emergent strategy and then there is a deliberate strategy. I think when it comes to anything that you do, I think this is a great opportunity for a lot of companies to look at emerging, kind of be open to what's happening, try to kind of adopt or kind of listen to what the market is saying. Because the better you can learn your market now, I think your long-term strategy probably 6 months later will be much more stronger. Instead of, let's say, trying to double down on, hey, you know what, I got to improve my revenue right now, or I got to get more leads. If everyone can just do more of marketing to learn, that's what at least we are trying to do. We're specifically trying to spend time understanding what's happening in the market, because of course, sitting in India, trying to understand the US market has its own challenges, but that means you have to put double the effort maybe. That's where I think COVID-19 has really pushed us to understand what's happening, focus more on marketing to learn than marketing to sell. And I think yes, there are some, I'm sure video as a format is going to definitely go up, and we need to watch and wait and watch and see how that can kind of enable multiple, let's say, product plays in the market. That's what I think.
Right. Yeah. Very interesting, right? Because I remember a colleague of mine, Neha, she mentioned to us a few days back, this decade belongs to video and COVID, right? Literally in those two words, she said that, right? So yes. So guys, super conversation. Thank you so much. Lovely insights. I have one last question for both of you. I know both of you are voracious readers, right? Matthew's a blog post that he talks about how to read consistently, right? Where he covered 52 books last year, right? Which is incredible, right? I know Satej also reads a lot, right? So guys, what are you reading right now? Share your reading list with all the listeners for us.
Yeah. So one thing I want to share is that I read a lot, but it's mostly online articles. So almost an hour and a half a day, I'm reading something or the other. But I don't think I've read 52 books in my life. So I'm a terrible reader. But I'll tell you one book that I just finished, which has been really fascinating. I'll recommend it to everybody. It's called Enlightenment Now. So despite all the bad things that we are seeing, despite the feeling that these are end times and apocalypse is upon us, this one, through data, it shows us that things are actually far better. This is the best time to be alive, no matter what gender, what color of skin, what religion, what anything about you. This is the best time to be alive. So really, wonderful book, very uplifting, and just made me feel good. That's what I'm reading. I just finished reading rather. Yeah.
Super. Mathew, what's on your list of books?
Yeah, so what I'm reading now is The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. Amazing book which talks about how it kind of takes you through the theory of evolution from a different perspective. And pretty interesting book. Of course, I don't think I'll be able to relate it with my my business journey in any way. It's just a read which I always wanted to do. In fact, one book or one series of books I would definitely recommend to anyone who wants to read right now in this COVID-19 situation is the Disruption series by late Dr. Clayton Christensen, where he talks about the innovator's dilemma, the innovator's solution, and he also has written a third book about how you can lead a meaningful life. I forgot the exact title, but it's again based on these theories which he actually talks about. So I think, why I feel this is very contextual is because I think markets are going to change. With the way people are going to behave is going to change. It really helps to be able to look at it from a first principles point of view, to have like some theoretical fundamentals to kind of analyze and appreciate what's happening. They are very, very good books. That's what I would recommend, from my side.
Right. Awesome. I'm going to throw in a sales book in this mix of enlightenment and disruption, the ultimate sales letter. So if I think this is actually a marketing book, not a sales book, right? It's a marketing book written as sales, but yeah, I just sort of finished this, I think about 7 days back. Great book to pick up, to sort of learn the art of communication, sort of how to truly influence people with simple, powerful words, right? So once again, guys, thank you so much for being here with us.